and then also remember that you don't need to continue necessarily to so many forms. You can think about where you want to stop and how far you want to go, and just really think at each stage what each element is bringing. Welcome back to the Organist Launchpad, and this is how to create imagery with organ music and no visuals. So this is part of the project For the Humming World. It is part of Earthworld's upcoming project, and the way it works is that there was a composer who wrote a piece, which was then sent to someone else who created a humming track along with it. Then they removed the initial piece and didn't show it to me, and then I created a new piece to go with the humming. It shows how poetry has inspired music, and how there can be a really strong visual element without having visuals present. And so this is another bit of a feedback loop, sending things back and forth, but where for me the music inspired poetry, which inspired music. So when I heard the humming track, I really thought that it would be great to have some text with it. I felt it was very narrative. I didn't know what yet, so I just sort of explored the work of poets that I like, and in particular Adrian, who is a lesbian activist from last century. And I found her piece Diving into the Wreck, and it fit perfectly with the humming track. And then once I had recorded the poem, I was inspired to then add different sonic elements as well, which created the entire piece. What I like about working with text is that it provides a lot of rhythm and structure. So something as a pianist who is Western classically trained, I often find that my rhythm is lacking. And so I find a lot of inspiration from text and poetry. And I also really like to play with the balance between spoken text and sung text. So you'll hear elements where the poem is read through, but there are also parts where I sing certain words to highlight them or bring them to the fore. And another thing to remember with poetry and words is that repetition is very grounding. Sometimes it helps us to remember something if we hear it many times. So hopefully this piece may be an example that could inspire you to begin creating interdisciplinary works, and then also remember that you don't need to continue necessarily to so many forms. Perhaps even just sound and text is enough to work together, and you don't need visuals. Maybe it creates enough of it on its own. Or you can think about where you want to stop and how far you want to go, and just really think at each stage what each element is bringing. Stay tuned for the next video, where I'll be talking about some creative prompts to get you started on your own project.